Welcome to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And if you happen to hear some keys jingling in the background, well, that's because we're doing this thing live. So anyway, happy Friday. You know, sometimes we may find ourselves scrolling or doom scrolling in the Twitterverse, you know, looking for something, not quite sure what, you know, maybe we're looking for, maybe we want to be pissed off, or perhaps we're looking for humor, or maybe we're just looking for some snark, which is humor with an edge to it. Maybe we're looking for hope. Maybe it's humanity. So if you're fortunate enough to come across one of the tweets of my guest today, you can be helped to a healthy heaping dose of many of those things. He's been described by some as a photographer, by others as a writer, by Rolling Stone magazine as a Twitter rando, as a dad. I myself am proud to call him a friend, and also our next guest here on Storytime. So please join me in welcoming our guest today, Mike Goodnow. Mike, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm sort of living like a real life episode of The Wire right now, so it's a little challenging, but here we are.
Tell our audience where you are right now. Tell them.
I wish I could.
Okay.
I'm somewhere under the turnpike near the Holland Tunnel.
Wait, so you didn't find a seedy motel parking lot?
No, and not for lack of trying. Not for lack of trying.
Are you like between a hobo and a fire hydrant?
I pretty much am. In fact, I can give you like the view. Right here.
It's quite picturesque.
It really is. Yeah, it's interesting. And not surprisingly, not terrific signal here. I'm not getting 4 bars. Anyway.
Right. Well, thank you for coming on the show. First things first, I got to ask you, I saw you griping the other week about these glasses that you found in a pharmacy, something. How are those glasses going?
I have a bit of a thing now. I had to get reading glasses like as of like 2 weeks ago, and now I'm kind of obsessed with them. So I think I have like 15 pairs, and I'm like, I still haven't perfected like what kind of looks I can pull off. And like, I'm working on some expressions. So I've got the Aaron Brockovich. You look over the top. You mean to tell me?
Well, isn't the whole
I kind of
idea?
Like them. I gotta say, I kind of like them. They're like cheap accessories.
But you can see, though. That's the main purpose, right? You can see.
You know, my distance vision was terrible, like horribly terrible. And I got new contacts, and then it improved my distance vision, and I was like, this is amazing. And then I went to look at my phone, I couldn't read it. So then I had to get these reading glasses, and now I'm leaning all the way in on these. Like I haven't perfected all the swagger, but I have a bunch.
I think you can pull off that look. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you we are live right now. So that means it's a reminder. Anything can happen.
Yeah, which is that sounds like foreshadowing.
But let me point out to you guys that when I first met Mike, and when I met him in real life, it was shortly after we experienced some serious drama in our lives. My son had been struck by a vehicle. He was riding his bike and he got hit by a car. And Mike reached out to me, like not in the tweet, but in the DMs on the side, and then we started texting, and I thought it was a real human thing to do. We encounter people all the time, and people on Twitter don't even really seem real, but Mike was very real, and he reached out to me in a very real human way, and he came by, and and we hung out. This was when COVID was still relatively new. It was like 3 or 4 months old. And ever since then, he's been a great guy. He stopped by a couple of months ago when he saw me tweeting about starting a coffee habit, and he brought me some coffee, like some bags of coffee. This is a cool brother, man. So I couldn't help but to have him on the show. Whose idea was that for you to come by? Was that mine?
Yeah.
Yours?
The first time? I think it was yours. But we had been talking and we were like, oh, we ought to meet. And I think you may have been the first person I ever met in real life from Twitter. It's quite possible. I mean, back then we didn't have any gray in our beards.
Dude, I've had gray since the 90s.
Just go with it. Just go with it. We were youthful and optimistic, and no, but we were both still smoking then.
That's right.
That's right. I'm sure your listenership knows this, that you were a smoker, right? You quit on August 17th.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is my birthday. It's my birthday. Right. And I had quit ironically on that same day a year before. So there you go. Congratulations to us.
Thank you. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to me. Thank you. It's awesome.
I'm doing a ton of heroin now, but I'm not smoking.
You guys, so one of the things that impressed me when I first, where's that coffee? Oh, coffee, because that was meant to be a visual for the comment about the coffee. One of the first things that impressed me about Mike was his threads. I call these threads legendary. And I say that, look, there's lots of people that create tweet threads. I have done a few. I'm very clumsy at it. I'm not good with piecing it together, whatever. It doesn't matter. But what makes his threads legendary is that they're so very well written. They're funny. He uses words like an artist uses paintbrush. And I think that's the whole idea behind, good writing. This one here is pinned to Mike's profile, I believe. Am I right? It says, last week, I asked if my backstory was something people were interested in reading about. The answer was a fairly overwhelming yes. So now I suppose I owe it to you to make good. To be honest, I've struggled with this, so this may be a bumpy ride. And then when you read the thread, it's Mike's backstory, and it's, what a lot of people would consider soul-bearing. Very personal stuff. Mike, what made you open up to people like that on Twitter of all places?
It's a good question. Like, I don't really have a problem sharing personal things. Like, now we're going to go to like deep into like a psychology session. I'm going to have to write you a check for $145. and then like 50 minutes into this, you're going to say, this has been great, but we're out of time. We'll have to pick this up next week. So, I grew up with an alcoholic father, and my dad was a good man. He wasn't abusive. He was sort of not qualified to be an excellent father for lots of reasons, but none of them were malice. He was just a person who, by way of how he had been brought up, he wasn't well tooled to deal with things. He grew up in a small, like tiny little town, New Hampshire, and then moved to New York City to go to school and didn't cope terribly well and became an alcoholic. And then my mom divorced him, and that sort of sent him into a depressive spiral. And so, the story of my childhood was weekdays with a very healthy person, and then weekends with a person who was very unhealthy. And being like sequestered in a small New York City apartment with a depressed alcoholic. And, I loved my dad. My dad loved me, but that's a very toxic environment. And one of the things that happens when you grow up with alcoholics is that there's like this cone of silence that even though it has nothing to do with you, you're not the alcoholic, you aren't the center of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just understood that it would bring shame and it's forbidden to talk about. Right. So when I got into my 20s, I just kind of abruptly decided that I was not going to agree to that anymore. I just decided, why do I have to carry that around like it's a weight on my shoulders? And then I started just, when people would ask me about my father, and if I answered the wrong way, they'd say, oh, it's flesh and blood, you should be close to your parents, blah, blah, blah. I just started heading that off of the past and said, listen, my dad is an alcoholic, love him,
Mm-hmm.
not a terribly functional person. And, I would just kind of blurt it out. And when I did, I found it was hugely freeing. It was like the most liberating thing of my life. Instead of like you grow up with it being all like hugely forbidden. Like it feels like the earth will stop turning if anybody mutters the family secret.
Right.
But the reality is that, I kind of made a comment like this a day or two ago. Is you can't be made embarrassed by things you're not embarrassed about.
Yeah.
And so I just decided there's no reason for me to be embarrassed about that. And there's no reason for me to not talk about it. So I blurted it out. And then once I started blurting it out and just saying it openly and matter of factly, like it didn't have to be hidden, a lot of people responded to it and were like, yeah, dude, I know that one.
Yeah.
I have issues in my own life. And then that just kind of snowballed into this sort of generalized principle that if you throw your shit out there, there are a lot of people who have that same stuff and can't. And for whatever reason, it's hugely helpful to them when somebody else does. So that's a long-winded way of saying, how did I generally get to vomiting up ridiculous overshares on Twitter? Like that's the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
And how did I get to sharing that particular one? I got doxxed by Bernie's people. I know you and we talked about that one.
Yeah.
And the whole premise of like the harassment there is that things that you hadn't broadcast must be shameful to you, right? Like if they out you, it'll hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
So they found my identity, which I had, to be honest with you, I never really cared about keeping secret.
Right.
And they thought that they'd had a power over me. So once they did, I was like, I'm just going to spill it all. Like, dude, I'll give you my LinkedIn. I'll give you my professional background. I'll give you a DNA sample. Like, I'll show you pictures of this one questionable mole that I probably should have removed,
There's a saying where people talk about if you put your trash out at the curb, whatever people decide to do with that trash, that's on them. You've already put it out there.
Right.
They can't hurt you with it if you have made the decision to put it out. I'm done with this. I don't, you can't hurt me.
Totally. And I'm harshly self-critical. There really isn't external judgments that would be more harsh than my own self-criticism. So that was not something I was terribly fearful of. And I will tell you this, like, I've written some very personal things over the years. I wrote like one thread. I wrote one when my dad died. I wrote one when the first thing that I missed in my son's life that my son asked me to skip because he was ready for me to miss something. I wrote that one sitting at a bar, and then I went in the bathroom and I bawled. Oh my God, I sobbed. It was like so personal. And whenever I have done that, the response has been like among the most gratifying of anything on Twitter. Like the replies to it, the DMs I get are also deeply personal, and people opening up and telling really personal things about themselves. But not just that, it's like, if it wasn't for all the pollution on Twitter, like the promise of social media is that we have the opportunity to connect with so many people with whom we share great things but also great distance. And that's the promise, right? But we all know the reality is that you get an endless toxicity and crap that gets in the way of that. So in those rare moments where you still find that, where you experience that connection, when you see others' humanity and they see yours, it's, that's why among the reasons, that's one of the main reasons why we're there.
All right, I need to warn you because I saw a tweet of yours a little while ago where you talked about like why these days do you feel so vulnerable, like every other minute you want to cry about something, and I'm warning you, my viewers will tell you over the past couple of weeks I have been in that soul space, that space where maybe it's that you're watching the news and the news is an endless onslaught of pictures of people struggling and dealing with dire circumstances, and you're watching it like it's not happening to me, it's happening to other people across the world, but you understand that there's a lot of pain and fear and suffering, so part of you wants to embrace that, but the other part is like, man, I can't be crying all day long. But all of a sudden I'm watching a commercial or a TV show that I've seen a bazillion times, and all of a sudden,
right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can relate.
So, if you see a strange expression on my face, ignore it. Just continue,
and right back at you, vice versa.
Why Twitter is 100? Well, it used to be 140 characters. It is now 280. Why do threads instead of just one-off quick tweets?
Because I'm very long-winded. I mean, that's I just am, and I'm ADHD-ish, like to the hilt, and so I don't edit. I don't like to edit. Like I am, like neurologically programmed to not be able to edit without great pain, and so I generally write things in one pass through and then I post them, and then I read them later. I'm like, geez, man, you could have cut that down quite a bit. That's just who I am. And, it's just my nature. I mean, I include too much detail. I know that it drives my son absolutely bonkers.
We love the detail though. Just so you know, fans of yours, we love the detail. So
I just told my son the other day though, I'm like, dude, you can always tell me, just hit fast forward. I won't be offended. You could like, give me the punchline, give me the bullet points.
The Reader's Digest version, as we used to call it.
Yeah.
So you, one of these threads you did was about a road trip that you did with your son this past year. And the excitement you had about this thing was jumping off of the tweet. You had this road trip coming up. Can you afford it? No, not really. Can you make it happen? Yes. It's easy when you think about it. All you have to do is, and then, you continued with that thread there.
Yep.
I want to know, how did that road trip go? Was it everything you hoped it would be? Did it ever go off the rails?
It didn't. It never went off the rails, but I was prepared for it too. And I don't think it's bad if it does. Like, travel's about experience, and we all try to pass along to our kids values and things that we think are important, and that we hope that they carry with them. And among the largest of mine, certainly in the top 5, which is important to me, it doesn't mean it should be to other people or anything else, but to me is that I think that money should be spent on experiences. And there's a lot of like research that supports this, that buying things doesn't impact your long-term happiness. You buy a TV, you like it for 2 days, and then it's just your TV. But when you do something, then you actually get to replay it in your mind, and in so doing, you get to relive that thing. Like nobody relives the moment they carried their TV out of Best Buy. Like, oh remember we had that cart and then we put it in the trunk. Like, you don't. Right. You just have that TV's yours, and that's actually the thing. Like humans were very adaptive. That's great, but people ought to also realize that we adjust. So whatever you have, you adjust. So my thing to my son is that experiences are of critical importance with people that you love, and part of it is the unknown of it. And so the way that I like to travel, and I wanted to kind of expose him to this, is to be unafraid of the world and to be unafraid of things not going right. And the times that they go unexpectedly great, you will remember forever, you know, and the times that they go unexpectedly horrible, you will remember forever, you know? So like our whole thing was, like I was saying to him, like, this is the internet age. We have Yelp, we have, you know, all these other sources. I'm like, we're just going to get in the car and all we're going to do is plan today.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We had like a rough itinerary where we had 2 places that we originally thought we had to be. That we had concert tickets. I'm sorry, 3 places. We had concert tickets in Nashville 5 days after we left. Somebody that I had come to know last winter who played like little live streams for us, he was playing in Nashville with Counting Crows. We're like, okay, we're going there to see them. Then we were going to go to the Iowa State Fair. And then we had tickets to see Zach Brown outside of Cleveland. So,
nice.
You know, 2 weeks, 3 places we had to be, and everything else was just up in the air. And then so we would get to a place, and if we liked it, we'd stay an extra night. And if not, we would just keep on moving, and we'd pick a place and get closer to where we had to be the next day. And it was awesome.
One place stick out in your head as like, oh shit, that was like, that made the whole trip?
I would say, yeah, I would. I mean, there were places that we liked. Okay, so we loved Asheville, North Carolina, beautiful, you know, lovely little town, great restaurants, all that kind of stuff. Chapel Hill, another beautiful little town. So folks who just are looking for nice places to go, I'd put them high on their list. They're great places. But in terms of like for us, kind of consistent with that, life is about experience. We loved Birmingham. Alabama was not
Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, it wasn't on our original, like on that little map you just showed. It wasn't on it. But once we got to Nashville, COVID was kind of flaring up. There were no hospital rooms in Missouri. We were like, we're not going any further west. So we're like, this is as far west as we're going to go. We can pop down to Birmingham and then go up and adjust. So we went to Birmingham and we stayed for 2 days. Dude, I loved it. I mean, first of all, there's the rich history, you know, the deep and impactful history of going to places that you've learned about in history, you know, going to places that were so impactful and important and meaningful moments, like the Greyhound station, you know, with Freedom Riders came into, and the 16th Street Church that was bombed, and deeply moving and important historic places to go to and just be quiet with and experience. And then beyond that, we went to a minor league game. I think it cost us like $8 for the best ticket in the stadium. It was, nice. You know, we had a blast. You know, we actually, I got some tips from some people on Twitter of places to go. So we went to little out of the way restaurants, and it's just an awesome town. And one of the things now I'm going to like totally go all tourist for Birmingham. But one of the things that was fascinating to me is that if you look at the population of Birmingham, it is considerably smaller than it was in the early 1960s, right? And the only difference in demographics is that a whole lot of white people moved out. Literally,
interesting.
The black population is of the same size. The white population has dropped by like 100,000 in the early 60s.
Wow.
And so you have this city that has like this rich history where all the racists left. Okay, go, right? Like, we're going to be all right. Right. And so now it's actually like, it's a progressive town.
Wait, so, they made Birmingham better again.
They did.
Great again.
Yeah. Like, I think the mayor is Randall Woodfin, who was actually worked on Hillary's campaign. It's, you know, it's a city. It has challenges like any other city, but we loved it. We loved it. Anyway.
Mike, you are you're a photographer now. I think it's safe to say, you know, but I haven't been stalking you. I have not been cyber stalking you, but I just follow your tweets, right? And it just seemed like one day you woke up and you're like, Dagnabbit, I'm a photographer today. I mean, seriously, it seemed like very sudden like that. What made you decide that you're a photographer?
You're not really wrong. I had a camera when I was younger, and I was into photography back in the film days, but I never really transitioned from film to digital. So, like, I liked photography way back in the day, but I didn't have a digital camera, so I didn't really shoot in for years and years. In film days, I traveled a lot in my late 20s. I didn't have a passport until I was like 25, and then I was like caught the travel bug and went bonkers and traveled all over the place. And I took pictures traveling, but then I went kind of dormant. And then, my son plays soccer, and I decided I was going to get a camera because he only had a year or two left. And
Right.
I'm like, I'm going to take pictures of him playing soccer. I'm into birds and wildlife and nature and all that. The kind of camera that would be good for soccer would be good for that too. Oh yeah, that's Saratoga. Yeah. Oh, that I have. So I'll skip ahead. I got back into photography. I bought like the lowest level Nikon, what they call a DSLR camera you can buy, which is still not cheap. It's like a $500 package, camera body and 2 lenses, right? And I dropped it 3 weeks after I bought it, and I shattered the camera body. Yeah. And I bought the camera on the way up to Saratoga that you see on the right there. And then, like, I bought that camera because I was like, let's see if I'm into this again. And then after I dropped it, I talked myself up the ladder and I got a better one. And it required so much self-talk. Like, I don't buy things for myself generally.
Yeah.
And I bought this camera. It's my most prized possession. I love it. So I go up to Saratoga with my friends to horse races, and we go see it. And there's one big race the weekend we go to. And I have in my mind that I'm going to take like a great picture of the horses coming down the stretch in the big race. Right. So I leave my friends. We've been drinking all day. I find this perfect, vantage point. I get down there and the horses turn for home and my camera breaks.
What? I thought you were going to say, and then I took this picture here on the right. No.
The lens. What you're seeing here is I got,
because that's a damn good shot.
Yeah, that's them going around the first turn. Right. So they're going around the first turn. I'm like, these pictures are glorious. This is my moment. I'm like, I'm going to print these for my friends and get them framed. I go running back over. They run around to the far turn. They're coming down the stretch, and my lens just skitzed out and broke. Anyway, yeah. So I'm into it now. But just because I don't have any idea what I'm doing doesn't mean that I lack for confidence.
I disagree. I see this picture here. This is a hummingbird, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fantastic. Is this with your newer camera? This one?
I don't know, to be honest with you. But
the reason why I'm like pictures of birds.
Oh yeah, that's a vulture. Yeah.
How do you get them to hold still for these pictures? For you?
You need a very fast shutter speed. You would. I should send you some of my outtakes. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of terrible ones.
I'm not interested in those. I just want the monies. That's it.
There you go. Well, see, that's the thing that's awesome about digital, which is like why I have taken to digital. Like people who liked film didn't like digital because digital didn't have the richness of colors that film did. And it was noticeable. And the pictures just don't have the same sort of depth and quality that film does. However, the thing that's amazing is you can just shoot forever. Like the reason why I'm next to the Holland Tunnel right now is I'm shooting a concert tonight. I don't know shit about shooting concerts. Right? Now, I have a friend who is in a band, and he was kind enough to get me like a photographer's credit. I don't know anything about it. But the thing is, like, I'm going to go and shoot like 600 pictures in an hour. And I'll get like 5 good ones, or 5 I could salvage, But that's the thing.
And
you can do that.
That's considered good. Like 5 good ones out of 600. That's
I mean, like haul. If you're, good photographers it'll be a much higher ratio. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't cost you anything. Delete the bad ones. Who cares? All
right, you guys. Let me put a pause on this for a second. You guys, we are live here with Mike Goodnow. This is his Twitter handle, The Real Horse, right? This is his Ko-Fi.com handle. This is if you want to buy him a cup of coffee, code-fi.com/the real horse. And here's his Instagram.com/the real horse. He keeps it consistent so you can find him. That's very smart. On the screen here, you can see a picture, one of the pictures he's taken of musical performance. This is what you do now. This is your profession. You're like a musical photographer.
No, I would. Don't get me wrong. I will at some point I will lie and say that to someone, like at a bar or something. But no,
you can pull it off. You got
yeah.
you got the pics on the Insta.
No, I do it for fun, and it's generally it's with people that I like. So like the guy you just showed, his name is Evan Alice. He's from a band that did like a live stream for us when we were all locked down.
This one?
Super nice guy. I think he's incredibly talented. He was playing in Brooklyn, so I'm like, dude, I'm into taking pictures now. How about I come in and I take a bunch of pictures of you guys for free, and then I'll give them to you. All right. I mean, it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, no promises. They might be terrible, but that's the gist.
I don't think you're leaving there with terrible pictures. I think you're taking some pride in what you do.
Yeah, I mean, for somebody with ADHD, it's like it's the superfecta. It's like all the stars have lined up. Is that you only get one shot, right? For ADHD, like there's a acronym that I use a lot that describes what works for you, right? It's NICU, like neonatal intensive care, like so NICU, novelty, interest, challenge, urgency. If something has none of those four, I would rather gouge my eyeballs out than do it. Right? It doesn't matter how simple it is. Like taking out the trash is vastly harder to me and more painful than attempting to learn how to fly a jet.
Right.
Because you got a lot of urgency if you have to fly a jet. Right. So anyway, like concert photography knocks a bunch of those out of the park because it's new to me, novelty. I'm interested in it. I find it hard. And there's an urgency that you don't get to do the shot over. If you miss it, you miss it. So all that adds up to, a pretty good recipe.
Now let's take those same principles and apply them to Twitter. I asked you a little while ago if you wouldn't mind sharing, sharing with our viewers any tips and or tricks that you have learned or acquired or practiced over the years of using Twitter that makes your overall Twitter experience better. How to Twitter better.
Sure.
Guys, get your pens and paper out now. Take notes.
Yeah. Should I? I don't know if I should bust out my highest octane Twitter secret.
Go for it. I think that's what people want to know. Yeah.
All right. Well, let me just. Okay. So here it is. Paragraph breaks. There you go. I mean, literally, nobody will read a copy block. If you have 3 sentences in one paragraph, nobody's going to read it. It doesn't matter if it's great or not. People just don't. Their eye sees a block of copy, and subconsciously they think, boy, that's work. I'm going to keep scrolling to an easier tweet to read. And so, like,
interesting.
If you look at most of my tweets, like threads, for example, like you were asking about threads, I am 100% convinced that the only reason why my threads are readable is because, number one, I break them down into a lot of individual sentences, right? So you have short paragraphs or individual sentences. And basically the reader in their own mind only has to commit to reading one sentence, right? So if they read that sentence and they want to keep going, then they keep going. So that's a big part. So that's number one. And number two is that I try to, if I can, make each of the individual posts standalone enough that you could share them out of context. Which is hard. But it just becomes kind of practice. But so I know it sounds super crazy dumb, but giganto tip number one would be cease doing 5, 6, 7 line paragraphs. Nothing more than a sentence or two. I mean, it's not even about the content.
Taking notes
It's literally
myself.
like just hit return a couple times and put space on the page.
How about trolls? How do you deal with? How do you personally deal with trolls?
I have. I don't know how you and I have never really talked about this. A lot of folks in our position, we get an absurd amount of shit, and and so we'll sometimes talk about how to manage that. And what I do, I think a lot of other people do too. Among the key things are that I have my filters set around notifications that they automatically exclude things that are more sort of densely populated with trolls. Like, so I don't see notifications for new accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that fair to people who are legitimate and have new accounts? No, not really. But it weeds out a huge volume of trolls, right?
Interesting.
Also, like
wait. How do you do that?
If you go into settings, and then into notifications, there'll be filters and notifications. And like if you wanted to weed out the vast majority of trolls, accepting that there's going to be some collateral damage, that you're going to weed out notifications from some people who aren't trolls, you could set your notifications that you don't get a notification from people who have new accounts or haven't verified their email address or haven't verified their phone number, because a lot of trolls are burner accounts.
Right.
So they don't do those things. They don't verify an email address. They put a fake email address in.
It's too much trouble. Yeah.
Right, because it's a throwaway account. Right. So when you do that, your notifications, you won't see that crap. Now, if you go and click on your own post and you scroll down through the replies, you can find them. It doesn't delete them. It just doesn't make you aware of them. That's all.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to also add on to what you just said. You helped me out big time the other day when I told you I was getting slammed by these like troll farms, just like dozens and dozens of waves of trolls. And there's a very helpful, interesting thing, you guys, that Mike shared with me. It's called Megablock. And the web address is megablock.xyz. And what it does, here, I'm going to read the tweet on the screen to you. It says, I want a feature called Megablock that blocks a bad tweet, the bad tweet's author, and every single person who liked the bad tweet, then sounds a brief alarm and makes your phone vibrate. Now, the last two things, I don't think it doesn't do that. It doesn't sound the alarm or make my phone vibrate. But aside from that, it works. It works. So you guys, if you're looking for a way to quickly dispel of annoyances, that's the thing. Just megablock.xyz. Yeah, and I have a robocall app on my phone now that automatically screens out bullshit spam. I'm living my best life.
There you go. Block early and often. A lot of people that's a weird thing. When you get to Twitter, it feels weird to block people because we don't do that in real life. But
then again, we do. It's called ghosting.
But like, it's not common to be like somebody's trying to talk to you and you're like, I am done talking to you. Never speak to me again. Like that. It's not how real life works.
That's true. Yeah.
So when you first arrive at Twitter, it feels weird to block people, but do it. Block it. I mean, if people I look at it, it's like it's your yard, right? Your feed is your yard.
Yeah.
If you don't want somebody in your yard, block them.
That's right. Mike, you recently quote tweeted a tweet from 2018 that you wrote. I'm not gonna lie, I'm up watching curling at 4 a.m. and I am stoked as shit. And then recently, March 13th, you said this was foreshadowing. Why don't you share with us? I understand you had a curling adventure in Maine. How did that unfold? How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, that was a good one. Oh my God. Like sometimes Twitter is good, like sometimes Twitter unlocks like these wacky, fun, good things. So in 2018, the U.S. men's team won the gold medal. And it was kind of like, it was a miracle on ice, slightly differently, a different kind of ice and a different sport. Like, because the U.S. is not good at curling historically. Now, I have a thing where I could think a sport is dumb, but because I like competition, I'll watch it for 15 minutes, and I'll be like, how did he not knock that stone out? My God.
Wait, time out 1 second. Just for the audience. You guys know curling is the thing with the stones, and somebody is pushing. Here, wait, I got a picture of it. Right here. Somebody
That's my best shot ever.
the stone with the handle, and then two people are in front of it with brooms on the ice. Right? Is that essentially? Am I describing that correctly?
You got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like talking up curling in 2018, and somebody who followed me was like, "Oh, I live up here in Maine, and we belong to a curling club, and you ought to come up next winter, and we'll teach you." And then the next winter was COVID, so it didn't happen. And then I was watching curling this year, and I remembered that, and so I just like followed up with her. I'm like, "Hey, we were talking about curling. How are you?" And she's like, come play with my husband and I." And as it turns out, my son was going away the next weekend. And I was like, as luck would have it, I'm free this weekend. And they were like, come up on Friday. We'll give you a lesson. We'll rent some ice time. And then on Saturday, there's like a fun tournament. And I was like, this sounds awesome. Like, no matter how terrible I am, it's going to make for a good story. And so I carted my ass up there 450 miles. It was a hike.
It is a huge drive.
No kidding, right? Like, I literally dropped my son off at school on Friday and drove all the way through and got there at 5 p.m. So they gave me a lesson, and I will say this: curling is freaking hard. Like, I had this idea. I was like, it's ice shuffleboard. I mean, come on, right? Like, I'm 51. I could be an Olympian in curling. And so then they gave me a lesson.
It looks hard.
It's crazy
it looks hard to me.
Oh my God. And my legs have never hurt more in my life, ever.
Why the legs?
Because you don't really appreciate this when you watch it on TV. The whole motion is basically, there's like a track and field block that you put your foot in. So your dominant foot. So if you're right-handed, you put your foot in a block, your right foot in a block. Your right hand is holding onto this 20-pound stone that you can't pick up. It's on the ice, right? So you're crouched way down with your hand on that handle. Your left foot is slidey. The bottom of your shoe is slidey. And you have the little broom in your hand on the left side too. So you rock back in that block, and then you push off, and you're supposed to glide forward basically with all of your weight on your left foot, with your leg bent perpendicularly at the knee, right? While holding onto this 20-pound stone and this little squeegee thing. Like,
oh, dude, that's a squeegee? It's not a broom?
It's a broom, but it's not. It's like a squeegee, It's kind of like a squeegee, right? So, dude, it's hard. I've tried to explain to people. People ought to try to do it on just not ice, just on flat ground. Be like, can you bend all the way down on your left foot and take all of your weight off of your right foot with your left leg bent at 90 degrees?
I'm happy to only watch that shit. Only watch
dude, it was, oh my God, my legs hurt for a week. Anyway, so we do the whole thing. We play this tournament. We drank a substantial amount, did shots of Fireball, and, miraculously came in second, which was, absurd. And then I wrote a thread about it, and that kind of took off. And I think that's the tweet you posted was referencing that. So
yeah.
I post that thread, and like 2 or 3 days later, I get a notification where somebody's like, dude, that's a great story. And it was like somebody with a verified account. And I'm like, that sounds really familiar. And so I click through. I'm like, holy shit, that's the guy, the captain of the men's curling team that won the gold medal.
That's crazy. That is insane. Yeah.
Right. And then the other 3 members of the gold medal team, like, either responded or sent me a message or something. I'm like, this is nuts. Like, and the 2 people who hosted me from tweets.
Yeah.
Right. Like, one person showed it, like one of them shared it and another person commented. And it's just like, it's become hysterical now because the 2 people who hosted me, who are the sweetest, nicest people in the world, like fast friends, I'm very fortunate to have met them, thankful for them having me up. Great people. I love them both. like they're into curling, right? So,
Yeah.
and they're members of this little club, and by virtue of our wacky little weekend, their little club is being talked about by the Olympic team. They're like, that's insane. So like,
Yeah.
they're telling people at the club, and then the one that we'll see where this goes. But then I got a message from somebody from, and this is bonkers, from somebody from Sports Illustrated who saw the thread. And he's like, oh yeah, well, Sports Illustrated has curling news. Like, and they're like, we want to run that story. So who knows? We'll see. We were supposed to connect today. We'll probably connect next week, but
if they offered you a job at Sports Illustrated, would you take it?
Roving curling correspondent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to do that, I think, right? And then cool. And then I posted like in that thread, I'm like, dude, I'm going to be like this German luge guy. There's a legendary luge guy named Georg Hackl, right? He was in 4 Olympics until he was in his late 30s, and he medaled every time. And he was just kind of out of shape German. They called him the flying Weisswurst, which is like the flying white sausage, because he would be like in this all white luge suit, looking like George Costanza. I
don't understand how luge is. I don't understand. It looks like Jerry Seinfeld. Actually, speaking of George Costanza, Jerry Seinfeld joked about it and said you could like win involuntarily. Somebody could just shove you,
just push you, right. So that's another one. I'm like, dude, I would love to luge. And so I posted this picture of this guy, and somebody responded. It was like, I know him. It's like he comes up to Lake Placid. You want to come up and meet him? I'm like, they're like, maybe you could get on the track. I'm like, I would luge. I could be, dude. I got medals galore coming. Curling, luging.
Mike, let me move us forward here to, this is one of my favorite things that I've seen you do. You do this every Friday, and today happens to be Friday, so it's a perfect time to bring this up. It says, Friday tradition time. Tell me something good. What good thing happened in your life this week? Big or small, what matters is finding sunlight, even in the darkest of days. Find something. What made you start this? And when did you start this, and what made you start this?
I started a long time ago. So I joined in 2016. I started it not long after I joined, I think. I joined like right around the election, right? And we all remember how much it sucked in the days afterwards, right?
Yeah.
And so I've been through an unsmall amount of crap in my own life, and the world was extra sucking at the time. And I posted that because, for me, one of the things that keeps people going is like, it's twofold. It's just the act itself. It's the act of looking for something good in your life, because without that, when everything sucks, if you don't look, you just get consumed by how much everything sucks. Mm-hmm. And so even the act of trying to find something that was good, it kind of forces you, it makes you stop staring at the abyss for those few minutes, right?
Yeah.
And then also the posts themselves are like, it's become its own kind of community. And there have been plenty of weeks where reading those replies have been like chicken soup for the soul for me personally. And because we all get wrapped up in our own lives, we get wrapped up in the heaviness and what's going on. And then invariably, if you read those comments, almost every week, you'll read one that will just totally reset your perspective and remind you of what I call the drama crisis line. Like, a lot of stuff that we think is a crisis is really a drama. If nobody's dying or dead, if it's not something that is utterly unfixable, it's a drama. No matter how bad you think it is, it's a drama. If it's going to pass, it's a drama.
Yeah.
Other things are a crisis. So you see messages in there of people who, their one good thing is something they've been waiting to tell for a year, or 6 months or longer, and often people will DM me during the week and be like, dude, I can't wait until Friday. And it'll be like, my father just tested free of leukemia.
Mm.
You know, or after years and years and years of trying, you know, my partner and I are having a baby, you know, or it'll be things that are the other way around. It'll be everything has been terrible for me. You know, I lost my partner, I lost my job, my house burned down, and here's one good thing this week, right? And it's just tremendously recentering. You know, it puts you back
Damn
in the
you,
place
Mike.
that
I
matters.
told you don't do this shit.
Sorry. Sorry. Yeah.
I think what you do is very special. It's kind of like stopping to smell the flowers. That's important to do in life. And you know, in a way, this show here, Storytime with BDD, that's kind of how this show evolved. It wasn't even meant to be a podcast. It was just meant as a goof. You know, I read some pages of my book and gave people an option to turn off the what was that called, the Trump coronavirus briefings, that garbage, you know. And it's a silly little thing. It's a group, but it's a community like your Friday Night Tradition community. We have a community of people who show up.
Yep. And I'm not going to speak for you, but yes, I am going to speak. I'm going to speak for you, and I'm going to speak for me, but it probably will resonate with you, and you tell me if it does. There are times in my own life when it's been hard for me, right? There have been plenty of times where I just didn't feel like it. I didn't feel like posting the Friday one good thing, where I was the person who couldn't dig for the ray of sunlight that week. And I generally don't post my own strictly because it becomes distracting. Everybody responds to mine, right? Mm-hmm. And I would rather that everybody else shared theirs. But there have been times where many, you know, not a shortage of times when I have posted it, I just gutted it out. And then other people's participation lifted me up when I needed it.
Yeah.
You know, and they wouldn't necessarily, they didn't know that at the time. You know, maybe some people, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But I think it's a little bit opaque to people what it's like to be on our side.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily make grand pronouncements of what moves us, you know, but there's plenty that does. And when people invest their own heart and energy and passion and their concern, their kindness, you know, there's nothing better than that. And for me, that is the gift of Twitter in a sea of things I could live without.
Agreed. And not a moment too soon. Not a moment too soon. We've come to the portion of the show that I like to call quick hits.
Okay. Awesome. This is good because I have I think about 15% battery, and you promised me that you were going to sing.
Okay, so then I got to skip the quick hits. Here's what I'm going to do.
Quick hits.
Hang on. I did promise our viewers here that they would get to ask you some questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward to our Q&A with Hoarse, right? So if you guys have any questions for my dude Mike right here, aka the Hoarse Whisperer, please share them. We're going to take I think 3 questions. Let's make it 2 because you have to play this guessing game. If it kills me, we're going to do the guessing game.
We can do 3. We can do 3. I'm on 15%. I'm good. We're good.
I don't know how long your 15% is going to last us, but let's see. Let's go, you guys. Any questions? Let's see. I'm scrolling through. It's so funny. My tweets, my viewers, they knew I was all verklempt. Here, let's see. Oh, here's one from Robert Weber, who wants to know, Hoarse, do you have a significant other?
I do not. I do not. Nor have I for several years.
Okay, well, there it is. He's available.
This is TMI, but my son has said to me, he's like, Dad, you can go out and date, like, go have fun, just be careful, because
yes,
he's like,
you got to talk from your son.
I did really. He's like, he said use a condom because I don't want any babies. He's like,
okay,
no babies, please.
We got Fox Hill Dreams here saying, Mike, next time you're in South Kakalaki, please visit her horse town.
Cool. I'd love to.
Let's see. Oh, look at Denise C says, you promised something at 400K, if I recall. I recall that. I recall. Wait, didn't that have something to do? Correct me if I'm wrong. Was that something to do with streaking? Were you supposed to streak if you hit 400K followers?
What you're breaking up. It must be that. Yeah, I probably my most regrettable moment. The first time I ever posted a picture, I said that if I ever hit 400,000 followers, I would post a nude. I did not anticipate having to deliver on that.
Well, here we are.
Right.
That promise has been unearthed.
Yes, and I'm generally a man of my word. I think I get like a 3-month COVID, not reprieve, but delay. I mean, I
don't know.
I at least have to find an open gym. I mean, this would be harrowing. Right? Nobody needs this. Nobody.
I think they'll. I think they'll forgive you if you take 3 months to tighten up those abs or whatever. Huh?
Exactly. That seems fair. I will make good on that though, because a promise is a promise, as
you're a man of your word,
harrowing as it may be.
Okay, Mike, as I promised you, I'm a man of my word, promised you I would give you a choice of 3 different categories. The first one is name that commercial jingle. The second one is guess that 60s song. And the third one is guess that 70s song. But here's how it works, right? I'm going to either sing or hum the song or tune, and you have to guess what it is.
Okay. Let's go 70s. Let's go 70s songs.
Good. 70s is exactly what I wanted you to do. And let's see, where do we get that? Right there. Let us test your knowledge of the 70s.
I like it.
Here's the first one. You can dance, you can jive, having the time of your life. You stop me at any time when you know what the song is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a layup. Come on. That's ABBA. ABBA. I mean, I saw Mamma Mia. There you go. I love ABBA. Swedish supergroup. Fantastic. I make no bones about that. I may know all the words to a number of songs off of Super Trooper. That's right.
That's right.
Deep cuts. That's some deep cut stuff right there.
So you were correct. You did correctly guess.
That's a layup. You threw in the easy one first so that I wouldn't be embarrassed, didn't
you? Okay. Let's see. Let's go to the next one. Are you ready for this?
I am ready.
Got a call from an old friend. We used to be real close. Said he couldn't go on the
the
American
American
way.
way. Yep. I don't remember the next lyrics, but
Closed the shop, sold the house, bought a ticket
take it
to
to
the
the
West
West
Coast.
Coast. Now he
Now
gives
we
them
give
the
them the
stand-up
stand-up
routine in
routine
L.A. Yeah.
in LA. Name that tune.
Billy Joel, My Life.
There it is.
There you go.
That's my cowbell.
You're making these easy on me. I think you're giving me layups here. Is there like
That
is
was
there a
not necessarily an easy one. That took you 4 lines of lyrics to get. So that one, you should have gotten that one a little bit sooner. So we're gonna give you this guy here.
I
Slightly
recognized it.
disapproving.
I didn't want to stop you from singing. I wanted to get a full bar in there.
Oh no! Absolutely stop me as soon as you get it. As soon as you know what it is. Okay. Here's the next one. First, I was afraid. I was petrified.
There you go. Gloria Gaynor. I Will Survive. Classic.
Oh, nicely done.
There you go. All right. Now I'm warmed up.
All right. Here we go. Lightning round. Here's the next one. Now here you go again. You say you
Fleetwood
want
Mac,
to
Rhiannon.
free. Whoa!
There you go. Boom. I feel like we have to maybe we have to do 60s, like amp up the challenge.
No, you actually. So if this was Wordle, you would have gotten that in the very first, right?
There you go.
And for that, let's say you get the Happy SpongeBob there.
Nice.
All right.
Nice.
Where were we? Right here. Okay. Next one. This one, not so easy. As I was walking down the street one day, a man came up to me and asked me what the time was that was on my watch. Yeah, and I said,
oof, I know that song, but I
blah, 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 blah. Does anybody really care about time? So I can't imagine why. No, we've all got time enough to cry.
Yeah, I'm never going to get the artist.
Boom, boom, boom.
But it's
we were looking for. Does anybody really know what time it is?
I knew the title, but I didn't. I thought Chicago, but then I didn't. Anyway, that's a failure right there.
Yeah, we get the disapproving glare.
Yeah, I thought that was Chicago, but it wasn't. It didn't have enough of that Peter Cetera, banana.
All right, let's do the next one. The problem is all inside your head, she said to me.
The answer's easy if you take it logically.
Oh!
Yeah. Paul Simon, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. And he comes nowhere near listing 50 ways. He gives like 6 ways.
Oh my God. That was you redeemed yourself with that one, my dude.
Thank you.
You did.
Thank you.
Okay. Here's the next one. You're doing very well, by the way, just so you know. Let me see.
Good. I want to be like Jeopardy champion and come back and face off against your other guests.
Yeah, the audience is approving your performance. Okay.
There you go.
Wait, let's just show you some of the comments here. Dragon Gaming is saying damn right here. Pete is a boss says Hoarse got skills.
Thank you. Thank you for noticing.
You are scoring. Okay.
All right.
Here's the next one. When are you gonna come down?
When are you going to land? Yep. Elton John. Oh my God.
I should have stayed on the farm. I should have listened to my man.
advice. Oh, I'm blanking on the title.
You know you can't hold me forever. I'll take the artist.
Elton John. Yeah, well, it's Elton John, but what is that song? I'm never going to get the song. It's not Funeral for a Friend.
We were looking for here. We've got Chris Valley.
Oh, yeah, of course. Goodbye, Yellow Brick Road. Come on. How did I not get that? Oh, my God. It's the freaking chorus.
Cecile Kazemi.
That's a failure. I should lose. That's like -2 correct answers for that. That's embarrassing.
The audience is a little perturbed with you, right?
Yes, as they should be.
Okay.
See, and this is why I didn't want to do this live. My humiliation has now been witnessed. See, we could have dropped this in post. Look what you've done to me.
Here we go.
Okay.
Next one. I was tired of my lady.
This is the worst song. Rupert Holmes. I hate this song. Okay? There is nothing at all sweet about trying to cheat on your spouse, having your spouse try to cheat on you, and then when you see that you're both trying to cheat on each other, you look at each other and like, oh, it's you.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I was going to cheat on you too. Isn't that romantic? I had no idea that you like pina coladas because we have terrible communication skills, but this random event is going to like rehab our relationship.
Dude, can I tell you something funny?
What?
Something funny. So I'm only laughing so hard because I literally just learned, like, I had been listening to that song for years, but not really listening to the words. Just if you like pina colada.
Right.
I wasn't listening to the lyrics. And then because I was doing this show, I had to read the lyrics, and I went to my wife and I was like, holy shit.
It's terrible. It's awful.
These two horrible people. Yeah.
Right. And then like the whole line at the end. So for anyone who is not yet of a certain age who's watching, way back in the day before the internet, before Match.com, you literally had to put personal ads in the paper, right? So like when my mom got divorced in the 70s and she was single, she put like an ad in like New York Magazine or the Village Voice or something, which is what you had to do. That was the analog version of Match.com. So that song is about putting ads in the paper. Like it's a pre-internet setting up a Match.com account. But dude, they get through the whole song and they literally discover that their partner was trying to cheat on them too. And they're like, oh, isn't that cute? It's you. Like, come on. Come on.
That's bullshit.
Because not only that, like, dude, if you're that committed to cheating on your partner, right? Like, if you're that committed that you literally paid to put an ad in the paper, and then you had a back and forth with the person where you literally had to write shit and go to the post office and mail it, right? So you got like a whole lot of setup time involved here, and then you get there, and the person who is supposed to be this exciting alternative to your spouse is your spouse. Somebody's catching a pina colada glass upside the head. Right? That ain't. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Let me do one more. I'm not sure how's your battery looking.
Good. I think I got time for one more. I have 7%.
Okay. Well, I'm running down the road trying to loosen my load. I got
Jackson Brown.
Great
album. No, I'm sorry. That's Eagles.
Ah, very good.
Take it easy. I
think
Jackson Brown may have written that though.
Oh,
Eagles.
Possibly. Yeah. Was he on the? Was he with the Eagles? No. I don't know this.
No. Oh. I think he may have been like he may have had a co-writer credit or something because people yell out that song at his concerts. I don't know why.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, my friend, we have what I like to call my favorite things. And this is a rapid fire. I'm basically going to be asking you your favorite things, your favorite this, your favorite that. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. Favorite TV sitcom from childhood?
Good one.
I said rapid fire, buddy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I would probably say MASH for volume. Like I've watched all the MASH episodes. That's like a latchkey kid thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Favorite movie? Not from childhood, just of all time. Favorite movie?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think I have an answer for that. I would say
your top 3.
Oh God, they're going to be terrible answers. I'm going to regret them.
Let's hear them. Let's hear them so we can sit in judgment of you.
There you go. Star Wars, the original
Excellent.
Star Wars. I would also say Jaws, because
interesting.
That became resurgent because my son and I saw it at a drive-in in New Hampshire over the summer, and Jaws in the dark at a drive-in is like, it doesn't get more classic cinema than that, you know. And then along those same lines, I would say A Christmas Story. And even though that movie is, you know, trite, we've all seen it a million times and all that kind of stuff. Same kind of thing. When we were in, I'm sorry to disrupt the rapid fireness here. When we were in COVID and we were like locked down, we couldn't do anything at all. And it was that first Christmas. The movie theater near me did a thing where you could rent out a theater, the whole theater yourself.
Oh.
And it was like $80, I think. Right. And so I rented it out, and me and my mom and my son went and watched Christmas Story.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, you know, anyway, Christmas Story. So that's on the list.
Favorite bird?
Ooh. I'm going to say a peregrine falcon. They're badasses. They go 200 miles an hour. They don't capture other birds. They just punch them upside the head. Like literally they do. Like
the speed. Right?
Yeah, they go into a dive, they punch the other bird out of the sky, and they're like, you had that coming. And then they just pick it up off the ground. Yeah, and then way bigger birds don't mess them. Eagles don't mess them. Yeah, they've got some moxie.
Nice. Favorite singer or group?
Favorite singer or group? That's a toughie because I have like, you know, very diverse, like huge musical taste. So that's going to be hard.
Top 3
to name one. Really hard to name one. I don't think I would necessarily be able to. I will, just to mess up your question entirely.
I could list my top 3 right now.
Okay,
Elvis Costello, Prince, Spoon. Boom.
Yeah, Prince would have to be up there. See, it's like you get kind of into a categorization though. It's like what favorite, why? You know, like favorite because they were innovator, or favorite because they were just, you like their voice or whatever it might be.
Like if you had to go to a deserted island, right? I don't know why we're only allowed to take a limited number of music, but yeah, if you're in a deserted island, you could only take 3 different musicians' works with you. Which 3 would you take?
Geez, man, that's hard. Like that's a question I have to like put thought into and research and.
Okay, I'm going to come back to you.
Yeah.
At the end of these questions with that. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
Guinness. Guinness, good old Guinness. Surprisingly low calorie, only 200 calories a pint, only 4% alcohol. It's a light beer that is not really, doesn't feel like a light beer.
I feel like I asked you this before, but just in case, favorite road trip destination?
Barbecue. Anywhere with authentic, good barbecue. So that's predominantly the South or like the Midwest, like Kansas City.
Favorite Twitter account?
You're trying to get me in trouble, aren't you?
It's no fun if I'm not asking you tough questions, buddy.
Yeah.
Unlike the guessing game.
That's a toughie. I would say, however, one that, you know, a person who's important to me and who I have a very, you know, sort of sentimental connection to, and et cetera, it would be Molly Jong-Fast. So
nice account. Yeah.
When I first joined, Molly was the first like verified account, the first one who ever talked to me. You know, she sent me a DM when when I was kind of like really early in. And she was like, she's like, "Oh, you're good at this." And I was sort of shocked by it, but it also was, it was kind of motivating and validating when I didn't even know that I was going to have an account, 2 months later. So,
Right.
and then she and I become friends, and we talked, a ton, and I love Molly. Molly's a great person.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Cats or dogs?
I would say both, but if I were to get, if the question is, you can only get one pet, I'd get a dog.
That's it.
A big dog.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Goldfish or hamster?
I had some childhood trauma involving a hamster, so I'm going to go goldfish.
Okay. Pizza or burgers?
Burgers.
Sailboat or rowboat?
Who wants to do all that work? A sailboat.
Yeah. Some people do. Got to get my guns going.
No, thank you.
Sailboat. Okay. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be?
Paris. I'd say Paris.
That is an interesting answer. Yeah, you'd be shocked at how many people say Paris. I need to see this place. I've never been.
It's it's not just because Paris is beautiful, and it is, and because it has so much culture, which it does. But for me, also, I actually thought in my head, I'm like Paris or London. I love London. My son's mother and that side of the family are British, and all that kind of stuff. So I could have said London, but I'm like, if you're in Paris, you also are easily within reach of the rest of Europe. Personally, I love Spain. I could have said Spain too. I would happily live in Spain.
You said Paris, though. There are quite a few people are answering that question, Paris, and that's I gotta go. If you could do any job for one day, what would that be?
Any job for one day, and I was good at it. Like, are we ignoring the fact that I need, based on my current skills, or I would have the skills to do well? Are we in fantasy land?
I'm just, it could be something that you're good at, something that you're not good at. In this scenario, you get to do it one day, you are a pro at it. I just wanted to throw this comment up here. Cindy says she prefers a rowboat. She grew up fishing in one, never went in a sailboat, but has seen a lot of people hit by the boom. No thanks. I just thought I would share that.
Good point. You can't really fish in a sailboat. Good point, Cindy. Yeah, I think I would reverse my position on that. If I could do anything for a day, I would be a talented musician for one day. Like, play a big concert. Like, be an excellent guitar player, be a great singer.
That is the freaking answer. Yes. I love that.
That's why I had
answer.
to ask if it was something, are we in Fantasyland? Because if you just said, Mike, I can get you a concert gig tomorrow, like, dude, that would be a war crime. I would horrify those people. Like, they would need therapy. So,
okay, last but not least, any particular charities or foundations / organizations close to your heart or that you support?
There are plenty, and it would be hard to list them all. I think there's one that it's a very, going back to our curling conversation, the two people who hosted me, the husband and wife, Tuesday, who is the wife who has taught me how to curl, she set up and runs a dog rescue, a German Shepherd rescue. And she basically, it's incredibly good-hearted and selfless. And she puts a lot of time and energy and heart and soul and money into it, where she basically rescues German Shepherds from around the country that are in high kill shelters. They're basically German Shepherds that are going to get put down. And they're in places where German Shepherds don't typically get rescued from those kinds of shelters. So they're basically on death row, right? And then she arranges to have them transported to her in Maine, and she oversees adopting them and is very rigorous about who can adopt. So,
do you have a name for this shelter?
Oh gosh, I don't have I can't remember the URL off the top of my head, but I will I will look
You
it
know
up
what?
and I'll
On
follow
the
back.
put up a reply
Yep.
on the tweet to this show, and
Yep.
and that'll be great.
Yeah, and the great thing about it is, like, she just got 6 dogs that were shipped from all over the country, including several from California. Right, those dogs were going to be killed, and now they're not. Now there's.
Oh my goodness! You know what, Mike's battery, I believe, must have literally just died, and which is a shame because I was going to go back to the question about what musical group, singer or group he likes, but it was a real thrill to have Mike. I'm not sure if he's going to be back. If he's going to somehow find some charge for his phone. He had his headphones. What I'm doing right now is I'm filibustering, right? I'm trying to, I'm just trying to spend some time giving him a chance to get back on here. And I'm stalling for time. But yeah, his headphones, he can only plug in his headphones or the charger. That's why his phone died. But it was a real thrill having Mike Goodnow, aka the Horse Whisperer, here on Storytime with BDD. You know, we overlap, Mike and I. We overlap in some ways, you know, in how we like to connect with people on Twitter, with people in real life, how we deal with difficulties that we've had in life, and how we like to experience, you know, as I said in the beginning, when you're on Twitter, sometimes you're scrolling, sometimes you're doom scrolling, sometimes you're looking for sometimes you want to be pissed, sometimes you want some humor, and sometimes you want all of the above. And I think that's why I like his account so much. And what I want to do is throw up, this is Mike's Twitter. If you're not already following Horse Whisperer, please do so. It's at The Real Horse. Okay. And this one here is his Ko-Fi. It's ko-fi.com/The Real Horse. And this is if you want to buy him a cup of coffee. A coffee. It's how we say it in New York. You drink coffee. And last but not least, this is his Instagram, where you can see a lot of his fantastic. He really does take a nice photograph. You can see his pictures here. And this was a really fun episode. Let's see. We got Karen Purdy from Newton Falls, Ohio, saying, please bring him back anytime, BDD. Fox Hill Dream says she thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. And Sandra from Paramount is reminding us all to please, if you have not already, please hit that like button. Smash it. Smash that like button. And as much as I've tried to stall, delay for time, yeah, Mike is literally just texting me now. He says phone died. Let me just write him back. I know, buddy. Mike is a really good guy. I mean, I feel very fortunate to know him in real life. Philosophy, my friend, thank you for the kind donation, buddy. Dragon Gaming says, ended with a dog's convo, not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. And I want to thank you all for tuning in for a fantastic episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. And if you have not yet gotten your vaccination, well, damn it, what the hell are you waiting for? Get your shot. I don't know if you're going to get a fourth shot, but I think I might. I might wait a little bit, but I believe I am going to get that. And if you still feel so inclined, please wear your mask. Keep your social distance 6 feet or better, and have a wonderful evening and a fantastic, relaxing weekend. I look forward to seeing you guys Monday, same time, same place. I love you all. Peace.